Hey lovelies, welcome back. My name is Tessie and this space is Victorian Ribbons. Today I'm going to be showing you how to draft a full scale basic bodice block. So when you need to make garments such as a paneled blouse, what I mean by a paneled blouse is like your 6 pieces or 8 pieces blouse, you will need to start from a full scale basic bodice block. So in today's video, I'm going to be showing you just how to do that. If you haven't watched my video on how to draft a half scale bodice block, I'm just going to link that somewhere up here and also in the description below, so you can go watch it. So for this pattern, the measurements you are going to be needing are first your shoulder width measurement, of course. So to measure your shoulder width, you would want to find the point where your shoulders connect with your arm. So, and to do that, you just raise your arm up like this. Okay, when you raise your arm up, then you notice a joint here. So you start your measurement from there, just from there. So this is what you do. Place your tape on one end of your shoulder to the other end. And this is what it looks like from one end to the other. So the next thing you're going to also need is your shoulder to bust measurement or your bust point measurement. And this is how you take your bust point measurement. You find the highest point on your shoulder, somewhere around here. And you take it all the way to the fullest part of your bust. Okay, so the next measurement you're going to be needing, of course, is your shoulder to front waist measurement, as well as your shoulder to back waist measurement. Now in my previous video, I've already explained why you need to take your shoulder to front waist and then your shoulder to back waist. Okay, so I've just tied my true waist. You tie it firmly so it doesn't come off, and then you measure from the highest point on your shoulder. Measure from the highest point on your shoulder all the way, follow the curve of your body all the way to where you have the band, and then you record what you have. Okay, now to take your shoulder to back waist measurement, you want to keep this band on, so you make sure you're actually measuring from your shoulder to your waist. So you keep the band on your back. You want to find this bone at your back, just when you bend your neck slightly. Yeah, so you would okay, I'd like my blouse to sit somewhere here. I'd like my blouse to sit here. So what I'll do is I would of course start from the highest point of my shoulder, which is somewhere here, and I'll place my measuring tape there and take it all, follow the curve of my body and take it all the way to where I would want my blouse to stop. Okay, so this is my blouse length measurement, and then I'm going to record this. So now I'm going to be taking my bust circumference measurement, and I'll just do this by measuring the fullest part of my bust, around the fullest part of my bust. Notice that I'm keeping one finger in between my body and the measuring tape. Okay, this is so that your garment is not too tight when you finish making it, and it just sits perfectly on you. And also I would want to make sure that the tape is not falling at the back. Okay, so you record whatever you have. So next you measure your waist circumference measurement, and to take your waist circumference measurement, you would want to find your true waist again, and I showed you how to do it already. You just tilt to one side and then you measure what you have there. Okay, so next you also want to take your upper hip measurement. Your upper hip measurement is the measurement around where the end of your blouse is going to be sitting, where you took your shoulder to blouse length. Okay, so just around there you would want to take that too. So this is how you do it. Yeah, okay, so this is what you do. So that's all we're going to be needing. Let's get, these are the measurements that we're going to be working with. So I've got my shoulder width of 15, I've got my shoulder to bust measurement of 11, shoulder to waist front 18, shoulder to waist back 15, shoulder to blouse length 24, bust circumference 37, waist circumference 28, and then my upper hip circumference, that is the circumference around where my blouse length stops. Okay, so that's 36. So these are the measurements we're going to be working with. So for the materials we'll be working with, I have my pattern paper, of course, and I'm going to be showing you the size of my pattern paper. So the width of my pattern paper is about is 23 inches, okay, and the length is 27.5 inches. So that is the length and width of pattern paper I'll be working with. Of course, I have my measuring tape. I have my different curves here, my different curves, and my ruler. I also have my scissors for cutting paper. I have my pencil and I have my marker. I also do have my tracing wheel. So let's get to work. As you may have noticed already, I have some lines on my paper. Yeah, so I have this top line here, which I have labeled SH. So this is just a reference line or my starting point top line. So there's no particular measurement from the edge of the paper to this line. I just pretty much use my discretion. The distance between the edge of my paper and this line is about 1 inch. So also I have this other line here, which is also a margin or a starting point line, and I have labeled it CB, or what you would call center back. Okay, so also there's no particular measurement or space which I used between the edge of the paper and where I drew this line. Is just the starting point basically. So I have about 1 inch between the edge of the paper and this line, so I've called this my center back. Now the last line, this is my CF line, or what you would call center front. Okay, so for this center front line, I had to do a little bit of calculation. So I took the largest circumference measurement which I have, and for that's my bust circumference. My bust circumference is 37. For some people, the largest measurement of their body might be their upper hip circumference. That is when drafting a basic full scale block. For some people, their largest circumference measurement might be their upper hip circumference, but in my case it's my bust. So my bust is 37, so and that is what I used. So what did I do with that 37? I divided it by 2. Okay, so when I divided it by 2, I got 18.5. Now I went ahead to add 2 inches, which gave me 20.5. Now look at what I did. I just simply took my measuring tape and I started from my center back line. Watch me. From my center back line, I measured 20.5. See? And that was how I got that line. So I marked it at different points. Starting from my center back, I measured 20.5 on several points on that side, and then I drew a line to connect all those points, and that was how I got my center front line. Okay, so how do you get your center front line? You divide your largest measurement, circumference measurement, which in my case was my bust circumference, which is 37. I divided mine by 2, and it gave me 18.5, and then I went ahead to add 2 inches to it. Okay, and that gave me 20.5. So I measured 20.5 from my CB to this other side of my paper, right, on several points. Okay, then I used the ruler to connect all those points together, and that was how I got this my center front line. I believe that's clear by now. So when you're working with another measurement, maybe your client's measurement or your own, you would want to use your measurement. Use your largest circumference measurement, divide it by 2, add an extra 2 inches, and that is how you get this center front line. So let's get to work. So we're going to start by marking our neckline. We will start with the back neckline. So for the back neckline, the width that I'll be using is 3 inches, right? So I'm going to mark 3 inches width. I'm going to be marking that here. I'll be marking that here on my shoulder line, this SH line. This is my shoulder line, right? So I'm going to mark in 3 inches here. So here we have So here I have 3 inches. And then for the depth, I'm going to be using 1 inch. Okay, so these measurements are standard. Okay, use 3 inches for the width and 1 inch as the depth. So I'm just going to use my ruler and a curve to shape up this neckline, back neckline. So this is what we have. And then I'll look for a suitable curve. So I'm going to highlight this with my marker. So I'm just going to clean off this line because it's not really necessary. I just needed it as a guide to draw my back neckline. So I've cleaned it off. So the next thing I'll be doing is I'll be drawing my front neckline as well. So for my front neckline, the width I'm going to be using is also 3 inches. 3 inches width. Inches width, starting from your center front. So I'm just going to mark that here, and the depth would be 3 inches as well. Okay, so we have 3 inches by 3 inches. Now we're going to connect. I'll look for a curve that works for me. Okay, so I'll go ahead and highlight this with my marker. So now the next thing we're going to do is that we're going to be imputing our shoulder width measurement. Now to impute our shoulder width measurement, we would have to take our shoulder measurement divided by 2. Okay, so in this case my shoulder measurement is 15. So 15 divided by 2 is going to give us 7.5. So now I'm going to impute that first on the back side of my body. This is the back side of my bodice. Okay, this center back side, that's the back side of my bodice. So I'm going to impute that first on this shoulder line on the back side of my body. So I'm going to be imputing my shoulder width, which I have divided into 2, which is 7.5. 15 divided by 2, 7.5. I'm going to put that here. Okay, so I have 7.5 here. Now I'll go to my the front side of my bodice. On the front side of my bodice also, I'm going to impute 7.5 on this line. So watch me do it, please. Okay, so now the next thing we are going to do is we are going to impute our shoulder slope measurement, or shoulder slope. So for the back, the shoulder slope we're going to be using for the back is 1 inch. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to measure 1 inch from here downwards. Okay, so I'll do that and mark it so you can see. So I have 1 inch here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect from the side of the neck to this point, this shoulder slope. I'm connecting from the side of the neck to the shoulder slope. So watch me do it, please. Okay, so that's my shoulder slope for the back. Now for the front, we're also going to mark our shoulder slope. However, for the front, our shoulder slope is going to be 1.5. Note that shoulder slope for the back is 1 inch, shoulder slope for the front is 1.5. So we're going to mark 1.5 in front here, just like this. just the way we did at the back, but here it's going to be 1.5 instead of 1 inch. So I'm just going to mark 1.5 right here. So now I'm going to connect from the side of my front neck to this shoulder slope with my ruler. Okay, so that's it for our shoulder slope. Please, if you have not already watched my video on how to draft a half scale basic bodice, I'll suggest you do that because it will help you to understand what we are doing more now. However, you can keep watching. I'm just going to link it somewhere up here and also in the description so that you can see it and watch it at your leisure. Okay, so let's proceed. The next thing we're going to do now is that we're going to be imputing our armhole length measurement. Now, in order to impute our armhole length measurement, we are going to have to do some calculations also. So to get our armhole length, what we will have to do is that we'll have to take our bust measurement, divide it by 6, and then add 1.5. Okay? So to determine our armhole length measurement, we are going to take our bust. Okay? The bust in this case is 36. We're going to divide 37 rather. We're going to divide 37 by 6. Okay, and then we're going to add 1.5. So when I did that, what I got was 7.6. So now we're going to take 7.6 now, and we're going to impute that measurement on the back armhole. Okay, not in front. We're going to impute it here at the back. Okay, so watch me do that, please. So starting from this my back shoulder slope, I'm just going to measure 7.6. Okay, so this is 7.6 right here, and then I'm going to draw a line that connects from this back shoulder slope to this point which I just marked. So let me quickly do that. So this is what we have. Yeah, so this is our 7.6, which is our back armhole length. So now we're also going to have to draw the armhole line for the front bodice. But in order to do that, there's something we're going to have to do, right? Which is we are going to have to measure what we have from here, from this shoulder line, not from here, but from here, this starting point. We'll measure what we have from here all the way to where the armhole line stops. So this is what I'm doing. Okay. So what I have here is 8.6. So I'm going to take that 8.6. Okay. Note where it is. 8.6. And I'm going to place it here. Okay. See what I did? I measured what I had here, which is 8.6. Right? And I took it here. Okay. Took it to this other side. That's the front bodice side. And I'm just going to place that here and mark where it stops. You see? So now what I'm going to do is I'll connect from this place, this front shoulder slope. I'm going to connect down here, and that is going to be my armhole line for the front. See? Nice and easy. Okay, so next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw a line that connects this front armhole line and the back armhole line. I'm going to draw a line that connects from, it's going to cut through my center front line, through my armhole lines, and then up to the center back. Just watch me do it so you understand what I'm talking about. So this is what I mean. Yeah, so we have the line. This is the line I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm going to label this line. I'm going to call it CH. Okay, because this is my chest line. CH. Yeah, that's my front chest line and my back chest line. So the next thing I'll do now is to create my armhole curve. That is the actual armhole curve. So how do we do that? For the back, what we have to do is I would measure what I have here. Measure what I have, which is 7.6 as we determined earlier. And then I'm going to divide it into 2 by folding my tape just like this. Okay, see what I did? So now I'm going to note that fold. Note the fold where the tape folded. Okay, so I'm going to note it, and then I'm going to place it here. Okay, and then I'm going to mark that point. That's the center point. This is the center point of my armhole now, right? So I'm going to mark it. So from that center point now, okay, this center point of my armhole, I hope you can see it, which I have marked. I'm going to come in by 1/2 of an inch. So watch me do that, please. So this is 1/2 of an inch here. Now watch me make my curve. I'm going to select any curve of my choice that works for me, and then I'll do this. Okay, so that's my back armhole curve. The next thing I'm going to do is also the curve for my front armhole. So to achieve this also, I would look for the midpoint of my front armhole. I'll look for the midpoint of my front armhole by doing basically the same thing I did at the back, which is measure what I have. I have about 7.1 here, and then I'll fold my tape into 2. Note that you can also achieve this by measuring what you have on your armhole line and then imputing it in your calculator and then dividing by 2. Whatever value you get, you impute it. But this is easier, okay? So you just measure what you have here on the line and then fold your tape into 2 and then note where your tape is folded, and then simply transfer the measurement back on that armhole line, okay, which is somewhere here. Now I'm not going to be going in by 1/2 of an inch like I did here. And my reason is that your arms tend to move more towards the front. Okay, I also mentioned this in my half scale block video. Okay, so your arms tend to move more towards the front, so you need more room for your arms to move in front than at the back. So for the front, we're going to be using 0.75 of an inch or 3/4 of an inch. So I'm just going to place that here. Okay, so that's my 0.75 of an inch mark. So I'll take my curve once more and try to make a curve connecting here. This is my shoulder slope point, this point where I came in, and then blending it into this chest line. Okay, so that's what you should do. So this is what we have. Good. So we have our front armhole curve nicely done. So the next thing we're going to be doing now is you're going to be imputing other measurements. Okay, so the first measurement we're going to be imputing now is our shoulder to blouse length measurement. So in this particular instance, our shoulder to blouse length measurement is 24 inches. So what I'm going to do now is from the top of this, from this top line or shoulder line as I labeled it, I'm going to be measuring 24 inches downwards. I'm starting with my front bodice, okay, front block. So this is what I'll do. I'll measure 24 inches downwards. Okay. So here I have 24 inches. Okay, so I'm going to draw a line. Okay, so now for my shoulder to blouse length at the back, here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to be using 24 inches. And my reason is this. Your length in front and your length at the back are not going to be the same, okay? So your length in front is more because obviously you have bust in front. Okay, which is why our shoulder to waist in front and our shoulder to waist at the back are obviously not the same. Okay, our shoulder to waist in front is more than that in the back. So how do we impute this as how do we transfer this to our blouse length at the back? Okay, so what we do now is we take the difference between our shoulder to waist in front and shoulder to waist at the back. So in this case, my shoulder to waist in front is 18 inches and my shoulder to waist at the back is 15 inches. So when you subtract 15 from 18, it gives you 3 inches. So we're just going to apply the same principle for our blouse length as well. So to get the difference between my shoulder to blouse length in front and my shoulder to back blouse length, I'm also going to subtract that 3 inches. So what that will give me is my shoulder to blouse length in front is 24. So my shoulder to blouse length at the back will be 24 minus 3. So my shoulder to blouse length at the back is 21. Okay, so now I'm going to be marking 21 on the back side of my bodice. So this is what we have. So I've got 21 inches here. I'm just going to mark that here. Okay, so I'm going to rule a line. Okay, so I have my shoulder to blouse length at the back, shoulder to blouse length in front, and I'm going to call this blouse length back. This is going to be back blouse length and front blouse length. Okay, so that's what we have. We have back blouse length labeled BBL and FBL, front blouse length. Okay, so let's continue. So now the next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be imputing our shoulder to bust measurement. In this case, our shoulder to bust measurement is 11 inches and we're going to be putting that only in the front, okay? Because obviously we just have our bust in the front, right? So we're going to be imputing our shoulder to bust measurement in front, and that is 11 inches. So I'll just put that there. So this is me measuring shoulder to bust. Okay. Now really line across. So I'm going to call this bust line or BL. Okay, so that's my BL line. So the next thing I'll be doing now is I'll be imputing my shoulder to front waist measurements. Okay, so shoulder to front waist measurements. In this case, my own is 18. So I'm going to be imputing 18, measuring 18 from this starting point line to somewhere around here. So let's put that. So I have 18 inches here, and I'm going to rule a line. Okay, so that's our front waistline. Let me label it for reference purposes. So I have my front waistline here. So now the final line we're going to be drawing is our back waistline. So our shoulder to back waistline is 15 here. Please remember to use your own measurements when you draft your own patterns, okay, so that your garments can fit you. Okay, so this is 15 inches here for our shoulder to back waistline, and I'm just going to mark it. I'm going to rule a line that goes across. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to be doing our darts. Okay, so to get our darts, we would have to determine what our bust span is. Our bust span is also what some people refer to as your nipple to nipple measurement. So in order for us to determine what our bust span measurement is, we'll also use our bust measurement to calculate this. Okay, so what we have to do is we take our bust measurement divided by 4, and then we subtract 1.5. Okay, so to determine your bust span measurement, it is your bust divided by 4 minus 1.5. Okay, you can just impute that in your calculator. Your bust divided by 4, whatever your bust, the value of your bust circumference is, you divide it by 4 and then you subtract 1.5, and that gives you your bust span. So in this case, my bust divided by 4 minus 1.5, and I got 7.75. That's the value I got for that. So that's my bust span measurement. So now in order to do your darts, you would have to divide what you got as your bust span by 2. Okay, so when I divided 7.75 by 2, I got something around 3.8. Okay, so I decided to approximate this to 4 because that number is really close to 4 and it has lots of tiny fractions, and I don't want to add all of that complications, so I just approximated that to 4 inches. So I'm going to be using 4 inches for my darts. Okay, I hope you understand how I came about this. Okay, to determine your bust span, first you have to determine your bust span to do your darts. Now to determine your bust span, you have to take your bust, divide it by 4 and subtract 1.5. Okay, so in my case, my bust span turned out to be 7.75 after I did that calculation. Okay, so to do your darts, you would have to take your bust span, the value you have gotten as your bust span, and you have to divide that by 2. Okay, so when I divided mine by 2, I got about 3.8, and I decided to approximate it to 4. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So let's proceed. So let's start by doing our darts at the back. So for our darts at the back, we're going to start on the chest line. So on this chest line, I'm going to be imputing my 4 inches starting from my center back line. Okay, so from my center back line, I measured 4 inches this way. Okay, I hope you can see what I'm doing. From my center back line, I'm measuring 4 inches inwards. Okay, so I'll mark that 4 inches here. Still from my center back line, on this back waistline, I forgot to label this. This is my back waistline. Okay, so on this my back waistline, starting from my center back, I'm going to be measuring 4 inches still. Okay, and then on my back blouse length line, I'm going to be measuring 4 inches again. Okay, so now what I need to do is to draw a line that connects these 3 points, 1, 2, 3, all these 3 points where I've placed my 4 inches. So I'll use my ruler to do that. Okay, so this is what we have. So now we're going to proceed. Now on my back waistline, okay, at this point where I marked my 4 inches on the back waistline, I'm going to move away by ½ inch on this side and move away this way by ½ inch on this side. Okay, so this is what I have. half inch on both sides, right? So the next thing I'm going to be doing is I will come up here by about 1 inch. I'll come up on this back, this side, this on this back blouse length line. I'll come up by about an inch, okay, by 1 inch, and I'll mark. Okay, so now this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to come connect this point where I marked. That is where I came up from the back blouse length line by 1 inch. I'm going to connect here, connect this half inch mark on this side, connect a line to this place and here. Okay, so let me just watch me do it. Okay, so when you practice your own, make sure that you watch this video, you pause it at intervals and practice exactly what I have done at each point, so that you get exactly the same results. Okay, it's very detailed, but if you do it a couple of times, eventually you'll get it. Okay, so we have our back darts looking nice already. So we connected this 4 points, 1 2 3 4. Okay, so now that's it for our back darts. I'm just going to use my marker to highlight where my darts are. Okay, so that's it for my back darts. Now let's move to the front darts. So now for my front darts, I'm going to be starting on my bust line, not my chest line. Okay, so I'll start from my bust line to do my darts. So I'm going to take that 4 inches which I used at the back also, and I'm going to bring it here, starting from my bust line. I would measure 4 inches away from my center front or my CF. Okay, so this is what we have here. We have 4 inches here, and on my front waistline away from my CF, I'm also going to mark 4 inches, and on my front blouse length line away from my CF, I'm going to mark 4 inches. Okay, so I'll draw a line just like I did for the back that connects these 3 points in a straight line. Okay, so now for the front, I'm going to come up from my front blouse length line. Okay, from the blouse length line, I'm going to come up by 2 inches, coming up by 2 inches here, and then on the front waistline here, okay, here I'm going to be going in by 0.75 on both sides, not half inch like I used for the back. I like to use 0.75. I explained this already in my half scale bodice video, that I like to use 0.75 or 3/4 of an inch for my darts in front, because I noticed that it gives my garments more fitting. Okay, however, if you choose to use half of an inch, that is still very fine. Okay, so it's just a matter of choice and the amount of fitting you want. So I'm going to be marking 0.75 on both sides of my darts here, 0.75 on this side and 0.75 on the other side. Okay, now on this my bust point, this is my bust point now. Okay, on this bust point, I'm going to come down by 1 inch. So now I'm going to connect these 4 points, 1 2 3 4. Okay, so okay, so that's it for our front dart. So now I'm going to highlight it with a marker to show you the lines that are really important, the major dart lines. I'll use my marker to just highlight them. Okay, so that's it for my dart in front. So now I'm just going to indicate how much the space I left in between from my front blouse length line to this point where I marked for my darts. I'm just going to indicate the amount of space I left. So for this part, I left 2 inches. Okay, so that when you're looking at it, and you're trying to draft your own pattern, it will be easy for you to remember that I left 2 inches here and I left an inch here. The space here is an inch, 1 inch, and for the back it was 1 inch here. Okay, so I hope when you see that it will be easy for you to remember. So now I'm just going to go ahead and contour the back of my block, the center back side of my back block. Okay, so we're going to contour that or tighten it. This is so as to eliminate what any excesses whatsoever that is going to form at the back. So I'm just going to do that now. So to contour the back of my pattern, I would just measure 4 inches from my neckline. Okay, so I'm going to mark 4 inches here from my back neckline. I'll mark 4 inches here. Then on this back waistline, I'm going to move away by 1 inch. Remember in the half scale block, I told you could use half of an inch, but personally I use 1 inch and it works just fine for me. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect these points 1, 2, 3. Okay, so please watch me do that. Okay, yeah, so that is it for the contouring of my back. So I'll use a marker to highlight the lines that we would now be using for our back block. Okay, so these are the lines that we'll now be using. We'll be taking our measurements from this line, no longer from our CB line, okay, or from this contour line. So whatever measurements we're going to take in going forward, we'll be taking it from this line, this highlighted line. Okay, so this is what we have now for the back. So that's the line that is going to be useful to us now. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is that we are going to impute our body measurements into this pattern. Okay, so we're going to start by imputing our measurements on our back block. Okay, so for the back we're going to impute our bust measurements first, and in this case our bust measurement is 37. So we're not just going to take 37 and put it here. No, what we're going to do is we're going to take that 37 and we'll divide it by 4. Okay, so 37 divided by 4 is 9.25. So notice where I'm taking this measurement from. I told you that this is the line that we're going to be using going forward for the back. Okay, so we're going to be taking our measurement from this line, not this CB line anymore. Okay, this line is no longer important to us anymore after we contour our back. So now I'm going to mark 9.25 from here. I'm starting from here. Notice that I'm placing my bust measurement on the chest line. So when you place your bust measurement, you place it on the chest line. Note, okay? So I'm placing this on my chest line, 9.25. So I have 9.25 here. I'm going to place it right here. Okay, so next we're going to be placing our waist measurements for the back. So in this case, my waist measurement is 28 inches, and 28 divided by 4 is 7. So notice how I'm going to be placing this measurement. If you have watched my half scale basic block video, then you would have noticed how I place my measurements when a dart cuts through. Okay, so but you can watch me do it once more here. So see where I'm starting from. Once again, I'm starting from the new line. Okay, from this new contour line, I measure up to where my dart begins. Okay, then I hold that. Okay, hold it, mark where it is, and then I continue from where the dart stops. Continue taking my measurement. Okay, from that point. Okay, continue taking my measurement, and then I mark 7 inches here. Okay, so that's for my waist measurement. Then for my blouse length, okay, I'm going to be imputing my upper hip circumference measurement here. Okay, so in this case my upper hip circumference is 36, so I'll divide 36 by 4, 36 by 4 gives me 9 inches. Okay, so this is what I have here. So I'm going to connect these 3 points where I marked my bust measurement, my waist measurement, and my upper hip measurement. Okay, my upper hip measurement, I placed it on my back blouse length line. Okay, so just going to connect these points. Okay, and that's it. So I would use my marker to highlight this line so I can see it clearly. Okay. Okay, and that's it for my back block. So now we're going to move to the front block where we're going to be also imputing our measurements. So now for the front block, here's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be imputing our bust measurement also. Note that we are going to be placing our bust measurement on the chest line once again. Note this, please, guys. Do not impute your bust measurement on the bust line. I know it seems like the right thing to do, but it is not. Trust me, guys. So you impute your bust measurement on the chest line. Okay, you get more fitting doing that than imputing it on the bust line. So the right thing to do is to impute your bust measurement on the chest line. So we take our bust measurement 37 divided by 4, we get 9.25. Please use your own bust measurement. Okay, I can't say this enough. Hopefully you wouldn't make the mistake of using my own measurements for your own pattern. Okay, so I'm going to place 9.25 here on the chest line. Next, we move to the front waistline where we're going to be dividing our waist by 4. 28 divided by 4 gives us 7. And we're going to do just the same thing we did for the back. Okay, so we take this, we take our tape, measuring tape, and we're starting from the chest, the center front line. We measure all the way to where the dart begins. I hold that part of my tape, okay, and then I continue my measurement just after where my dart ends, and then I mark 7 inches. Okay, you see, nice and easy. So the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to impute my upper hip circumference. Okay, and I'm going to be imputing it on this front blouse length line. So my upper hip circumference is 36 divided by 4 gives me 9, and then I'm going to just impute that here. Okay, so now I'm going to connect these 3 points. So I'll use my marker to highlight the major lines on this pattern so that it's easy for you to tell which lines are important. Okay, so basically this is the front part of our block. Okay, so now at this point I know you're wondering, why is the side front longer than the side back, and how are you going to join it such that the front side is not looking too long? However, if you've watched my half scale basic block video, I believe you already know how to fix this. Okay, but if you haven't, I'm just going to show you how to do that. Okay, so just keep watching. So now what we're going to do is we're going to have a side dart. Okay, a bust dart, call it a side dart or a bust dart. So this is how we're going to do our bust dart. To get our bust dart, what we're going to do is we're going to subtract our front waist length from our back waist length. Okay, so that's 18. In this case, it's 18 minus 15, and that's 3 inches, right? So now we're going to take that 3 inches and we're going to measure from here. We're going to measure that 3 inches from here. This bust line, you see, I'm going to measure it from where the bust line cuts the side front. Okay, I'm going to measure from there. I'm going to mark that 3 inches here. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to connect this point to our bust point. Okay, Good. So now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to divide this dart by 2 into 2 equal halves. And that's about 1.5 inch. So I'm going to mark 1.5 inch of an inch here. And then I'm just going to make a broken line, okay? I like to make it a broken line. And I'm going to notice that I'm extending this line outside beyond the pattern, okay? Now, still the sides are not matching. So you're wondering how we're going to match up these two sides, right? So let me show you how we're going to do that. In order to do that, we would have to measure what we have here, okay? Measure what we have here, because what we are trying to do now is we are trying to close up this dart, okay? And in order to close up one dart, you would have to open another dart. I don't know if this makes sense. So I'm just going to show you exactly what I mean. Okay. So now I would measure what I have on my shoulder. This is my front shoulder slope. Okay, I have 4.75. You know the normal way we divide our measurements into 2. So I'm going to divide this into 2 and mark that point here. Yeah, so I'll take this line now, connect it to this bust point. Okay, from here I'll draw a line that connects from this this point to my bust point. Let me show you exactly what I mean. Okay, good. So that is it. So now what do I do next? I'll just get my scissors and I'm going to slash this through. I'll cut through to here, to somewhere around this bust point. We're done cutting. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to fold in this dart. Okay, this dart, we're going to fold it in this bust dart. So how do we fold it in? Watch me as I do that. So I'll start by folding this line, this lower. I'll start by folding this lower line here. Okay, just carefully fold it in, just like this. I also fold this upper line. See, next I'm going to fold it in like this to meet this lower line. Okay, see what I did? So when you do that, you can see that there's a break. The side line has broken. There's a break in the line. Okay, the side front line has a break, a little break. So what we'll be trying to do now is we want to try to blend up these lines. Yeah, I want to blend up the lines so that it's not broken. When you fold it like this, the lines will not look broken. And how do we do that? All we need to do is I'll take my tracing wheel, which I have right here, and then I'll just make a mark starting from this place. I'll make a mark all the way to where the line breaks. Okay, and connect, see, to sort of connect them. So what I'll do next is I'll take my ruler and my pencil, and then I'll follow where the line of my tracing wheel. I'll just draw a line, okay, and connect to this line. Okay, so when I open up, this is what I have. This is the mark my tracing wheel made, and I just drew a line, okay, to match up. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend this line to meet this center line of my dart, where my dart divides into 2. Okay, so this is what I'll do. I'll just extend it till it gets to this midpoint. Next thing I'll do is from the bottom line of this my dart, I'm going to draw another line to connect here. Okay, so I'm just going to clean up the excesses I have here. So you're probably wondering, why are we doing all of this? Okay, it's so that when you close up your darts, see, when you close up your darts and you probably sew your darts in, you see how nice and smooth the line is. It connects nicely and smooth. Okay, So that is it. So now I'm going to highlight that. Okay. So now I'm just going to divide the front and back bodies. Okay. So now let's have a look. So you can see now that the sides are matching. The sides of the front and the back match up already after we close the darts. Okay, so that is how we make the side of the front and the side of the back to match up. So that's it for our full scale basic block. I hope you learned a lot from this. Watch out for my next video on how to draft a basic gown. You sure don't want to miss that. It's just going to be as detailed as this. Please don't forget to drop your comments in the comment section. Give this video a thumbs up so that more people can see it. And also, if you have any questions, please, like I said earlier, do not forget to drop it in the comment section. And please subscribe and also hit the bell notification icon so that whenever I post a new video, you will be the first to see it.